Welcome, everyone, to the Freddie and Alyssa Show. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, all that fun YouTube stuff. It is the season of subscribing.
So I've heard.
So I have heard. We're approaching our 3 years of the Freddie and Alyssa Show podcast, so you don't want to miss anything that's coming up. We've got a lot of cool stuff in the works, and we're all going to be launching it here on YouTube. So that's my little extra pitch to hit that subscribe button if you've been thinking about it. If you're on Facebook, be sure to follow, and if you're listening on a platform like iTunes, hello out there. If you think we deserve a 5-star review and you'd like to write us one, that would be amazing. Like I said, we've been putting out content for almost 4 years in general, even longer than that, but professionally, I would say 4 years. But the podcast on April 24th will be our 3-year anniversary. We're approaching 200 episodes. It's very, very exciting. And we couldn't be having this successful podcast without all of you tuning in every single week. And I believe because of the time, it is virtually impossible to get this out at 3 o'clock. And I'm finding with everything we have going on and the actual numbers, I feel a lot of people are watching the podcast around 6 or 7 at night anyway. So I think maybe this isn't the official announcement, but I think we should move the weekly Wednesday podcast drop to like 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern.
Love that.
Because people are home from work and you can also watch it whenever instead of like in the afternoon. So we might do that because there's been too many times we have to push the time and I hate doing that. So I want people to get on a schedule. So we're going to decide 6 or 7 o'clock moving forward. In this way, we will for sure be able to get these out on time, because if we end up shooting Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon with the editing process, you know, we have to shoot it a day before to get it out on time. So that's a little, just thinking out loud here. Our sponsor for today's podcast is Lennox.
Yes!
Lennox has been America's leading tableware, giftware, and home entertainment brand for over 130 years, inspired by heritage and designed for now, which I totally agree. It is awesome. Lennox is happy to be part of your home and the moments you create in it. I really like that. Whether you're engaged, newlyweds, or just moved in together, we're kind of all of that. Well, we didn't just move in together. We've been living together for 10 years, but as a married couple, we just moved into a new place. I can't believe we've been here almost 7 months now. Moved in together, and you need to build out your space. Lennox is there for you. Lennox is the iconic brand that you can always trust for your wedding, registry, and home. From gorgeously designed dinnerware to long-lasting flatware and top-notch barware that's been chosen as one of the best barware collections by brides on the Knot.
The Knot!
So if you want to grab yourself some Lennox dinnerware and flatware and all of their amazing products, you can visit lennox.com. That is Lenox.com. And if you want 20% off your order, use the code Freddie Alyssa at checkout. That's all one word, Freddie Alyssa. Again, that is Lennox.com, and enter Freddie Alyssa at checkout to receive 20% off your order. Thank you, Lennox, for being part of our podcast. We appreciate you. And if you're looking for some cool dinnerware and flatware, Lennox is the place to go.
So crazy. Anytime we've had Lennox as a sponsor, there are always comments about people who go, oh my gosh, I love Lennox. I've had it. I use it all the time, like every time. And I love that so much.
That's the power of brand.
Right?
130 years. That's what's kind of disheartening about certain brands that have gone out of business, like the Toys R Us, the Blockbuster. There's many brands that I'm forgetting, but that's the whole world is about brand now.
Yeah.
And that's why these companies should never let a brand die, because I always look at the success level of a brand is knocking on every door that you see. I always envision going to a massive hotel and knocking on every door or apartment complex. And if you say, do you know what Pepsi is? Every person knows what Pepsi is. That's brand.
Oof.
So that's why our goal in the future, whether it takes 2 months, 2 years, or 20 years, I can't wait till we build a brand that when we go into apartment buildings and knock on the door, they say, do you know who Freddie and Alyssa is?
Yes.
And at least if 10% do, we're doing something right.
Yes,
So that's our long-term goal.
it.
But brand is huge, and it's just really interesting that you brought that up.
Did you know, too, really quick on that same note, that Blockbuster, the very last Blockbuster, they made it into an Airbnb. And I think it's in, I want to say like Oregon, somewhere up that way. But you can go and spend the night in the last Blockbuster. I'm like, that's so cool, nostalgic.
I saw something on Netflix that I think there's a documentary called The Last Blockbuster.
Yes.
I'm interested. I don't know if I'm an hour and a half interested in a documentary of it.
That's what I saw when I passed it. I go, I do love Blockbuster, but what am I really going to learn from this?
Yeah.
Like an hour and a half of my time about Blockbuster. It may be great.
Yeah, I mean, it just brings you back. I think that the perusing, like the idea of going to Blockbuster was kind of that same feeling nowadays when you, I want to make sure I hit record.
God, can you imagine?
When you order food from Postmates, like getting out your app and looking through and finding it, and then you're like waiting for it to arrive was the feeling of going to Blockbuster.
Yep.
You're like, what is it going to be? But then you had that tad bit of stress where you're like, are they going to have the movie in? Which is just barbaric. We would actually want to go see a new movie that we waited 6 months to get out of theaters before it got out of Blockbuster. And you'd run in and look at the wall, and the new thing, they'd have like 20 copies, and it would be behind the DVD or the VHS. And then if it wasn't there, you have to run up to the desk and go, hey, did anyone just return it? And it was like scratching $1 million lottery if someone just returned Collateral or something, and you're like, what? It's here. And you're like, we're gonna get it. And you get like candy and popcorn. It was really cool.
It was. You and I actually used to go to Blockbuster in LA. There was the one off of like Vineland and Ventura by the Ralphs that we would go to sometimes. You know, it was a smaller one, and then there was the big one in North Hollywood, which is closer. They turned that into a pet store, I think.
The whole plaza got turned into a or no, you're right. Yeah, it's a pet store, but that's the one that we went to when you were at Huston Street or Houston Street or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it was a big Blockbuster too, like huge ceilings. Just there were so many movies, and it used to be fun though to go. You're like, ooh, it's Saturday. We're staying in tonight, but let's go out and go walk around and see. Oh, what kind of movie are you in the mood for? Comedy? Oh, let's go to the comedy aisle. Oh, you want thriller? Let's go to the thriller aisle. Like, it's such a thing.
And then you like get home, and then like even putting it in the DVD player. There was more to it. Now you're just laying on the couch, stuffing a burger in your mouth, going, buy, play.
So many options.
Yeah, play.
There's nothing out.
So it's funny though, that whole experience you lost.
I know, and I loved it.
But you
so
lost it for
much.
convenience. It's only nostalgic. Like I'd like to do it once.
Yeah.
So maybe if somebody were like, that's why the last Blockbuster, but it's an Airbnb, which is cute. And no one would go to a video store because the business wouldn't stay open. You know, it'd be nostalgic, but if you go there, how are they going to keep up on, like, who's going to go do that? Even Redbox to me is insane.
That people actually go up to a machine and you like essentially rent a DVD.
And you have to return it. It's $3.99 to rent right to your TV.
It's crazy, but maybe people like experience. Like, did you ever go to Video West with me off of Ventura?
No, but is it next to Reno's?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I used to go there all the time. Rachel, remember my friend Rachel?
Yes.
She's the one. I don't know why we would go there instead of Blockbuster, but I think it's because sometimes they had just more chances to get the movie you're looking for. But it also had like a sex movie aisle. So anytime I'd go in there, because I was like in my early 20s, I'd be like, oh my God, there's a sex aisle. Oh my God.
Was there like a sheet that you had to walk behind? It was always a sheet. It was never like or it's like a weird door that they found on the side of the street and they screwed it in. And there's always like, you're like, okay. There was one that me and Mia went to because my friend Mia, who I roomed with for like 5 or 6 years, he worked at Olive Garden. I worked at Outback, and it was in the Burbank Empire Center for anyone who's in California. And the Outback and Olive Garden are right across from each other. So we would like go to work, and he'd be in this building, I'd be in this building. But if we had different shifts, he would stop at this video store on the way home. But it had all these what do you call them? Tchotchkes. What are they called?
Sure.
And it was just like, but it also had a BS curtain, and you're like, is the new releases behind this? And it's like, but yeah, they don't make it.
They don't make it like
elegant.
Not at all. Not at all.
Like I'd put a flashing like XXX sign or something.
There's something to keep it just not sketchy, because it was always sketchy, and you have all this young kids giggling.
Yeah, and how the young kids have access on their phone at 11, so there is no need for a strange black curtain and that weird like stuff. Like you have to like nod.
Yeah,
it's kind of how we are as guys when we go to the bathroom, depending on the situation. If it's like an airport and it's busy and we all go up to a urinal, it's funny how guys have an energy of when you feel the necessity to give a nod or when it's inappropriate. Because if it's a fast paced like airport, there's kind of this thing that triggers when we go into the bathroom that you're waiting in line because it's so busy. So there's no eye contact. People are there for business. But if you ever walk into like a bathroom and someone's just, zipping up and turning around and like you're about to go and there's like two of you, there's always like a head nod.
It's so weird because when I think of it being a woman, if there were no doors for us women to go behind and like I just finished like pulling everything down and I lock eyes with the chick and I'm like, hey. Like it's so awkward.
Well, there's a door on the thing.
For chicks, I'm saying, but if there wasn't, like now that I think of it, you as a man go in there, y'all do your business, and then oh hey.
But you think even peeing would be awkward?
If I'm like just finishing my business and I'm pulling like my dress down and I catch eyes with a girl, I'm like, hey.
Interesting.
It's just like
so it
it's such
seems
a
more
personal-
private and personal. With
yeah.
guys, it doesn't.
Really?
Maybe number 2 would. But it's also how I grew up, because in our high school there was no doors on the stalls because people would go and do drugs, so they ripped all the doors off. So there were times that, and even in locker rooms, like we would be getting ready for basketball, there's no doors, so you would just go.
So if you had to go number 2, there's no door?
I know for sure in the locker rooms there was no doors, because I remember specifically, like maybe in the actual I don't know. Maybe in the actual school. I think the locker room did not. So, because we were playing basketball and it would always be like, hey. So I got used to it. But guys maybe are just different about it. But there's some places for guys when we go that there's a divider wall.
Right.
But your peripheral, if you actually cared to look, you don't have to turn much to do it. So you have to just be respectful and look forward, because even with the little gates, if you just turned, you'd be able to see. But then there's also just some that have like complete walls. There's some that have no dividers at all. And then there's some that's a trough. I think they got rid of those, but there's an actual, like, if you think of it as a bathtub, but like shorter, and it's just like a long trough and everyone would go in it. And it's pretty disgusting. And the other thing that's really bad, now that we're on this disgusting train of us men, and is that it's there's like splashing a little bit.
I was just thinking
and then
that in my head.
And the floors are also sometimes wet. So when you go to stand in front of it, you have to separate your legs not to stand in the wetness if it's not a clean place.
And then you take those sneakers and go walk on floors that, if you're in high school, kids probably are sitting on later out front. You know, like how sometimes like in between class, maybe you'd sit on the floor in front of a classroom, or I don't know.
Well, you'd hope that when you're walking that it like comes off.
That's disgusting.
Or you walk in dirt. But yeah, it's not a good experience.
The older I get, the more I realize, like, men really, y'all nasty.
Yeah, we have to try. But I've heard some stories of some female friends who've come back from the bathroom and there's been some bombs dropped.
Oh no!
And it seems disgusting.
Well, this is such a riveting conversation.
It is. It's a riveting conversation.
As I'd love to stay on this topic.
Do you want to shift over to this? We're approaching, literally in 4 minutes is 48 hours since we got our second Pfizer vaccine.
Yeah, high five.
So, how are you feeling? What was your process? How did that all go?
Yes. So we went Monday at 2 p.m. and we were, I was pretty anxious because I kept hearing from people that the second dose was going to be the one with more side effects. This is what's so interesting about this entire experience. Sometimes you just can't listen to all the like mumbo jumbo going on, because I got so into all these different stories that, maybe you'd see on TikTok, you'd hear from friends. I heard a lot of really good ones, but then you also hear some that are like, oh yeah, I got so sick. And so I was just very anxious about that, because the first shot, no symptoms at all. Like my arm was a little sore. I was a little tired. But we go in and we get it, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, because you went before me, but we'll get to that in a minute. And they put us in observation for 15 minutes, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, you're fine. You already had this in you. But then when you're done, at least for me, it was very much like, okay, now I got to wait like 24 hours to 48 hours just to see what's going to happen. And so every hour, I'm already a very anxious person. So for me, I was just sitting there going, oh my goodness, what is going to happen, hour by hour. Then as the hours started to go on, I was feeling great. Like, honestly, really, really good. And then later that evening, my arms started getting a little sore, but I kept doing these exercises. I'm not kidding you guys. If you get it, do this. It helps so much. And I slept really well. I woke up the next morning, no symptoms. Arm was a little sore. I've heard some people had really sore arms. I didn't. It was sore, but I don't feel anything today. And last night, I slept like 11 hours, which I wanted to let my body sleep because I just knew there's just a lot going on, a lot of stress going into it. Just let your body rest. And today, it's been, 48 hours, you said?
Yeah.
And I feel great. So what was yours like?
Yeah, mine, what you mentioned the first time for me, my arm was incredibly sore. To the point where my very first shot I got when I went to bed that night and I rolled over in the middle of the night, it like shocked me because I was like, ow, like it hurt, like the soreness, but that only lasted for 24 hours and then the soreness went away. And then I was just jet lagged, like the same exhausted feeling.
You had that this time?
That was the first time.
Oh, the first time.
And then it went away and I completely even forgot I got it. Like after 48 hours, I was like back to my life, never thought about it. And then we just got our second one 2 days ago. So I was like, okay, now I'm back in this. But the first day, what we did differently is that my parents were coming the first time the next day. So we were cleaning and working and scrubbing and like breaking our bodies down. Like we worked. Like we probably did like 20,000 steps, like just running around the house cleaning. And I was dead. And I think it's because I got the shot and I was vacuuming the car out and I worked. So this time on our shot, I got it and I just relaxed and I never felt tired the first day.
Yep.
Just went to bed. My arm wasn't that sore. I was able to sleep on it this time.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, that's not a big deal at all. And then on Tuesday, the day after, I was definitely tired. I can tell that today, now that I've woken up, I'm 95% me.
Yeah.
I was like 65% me yesterday, energy level. But the other thing that I noticed that I thought was like a canker sore or something, because I've gotten those in my throat, when my parents were here and I was going to bed at night, I remember feeling like it wasn't a sore throat, like when you have like in your tonsil area, like when you have an infection sore throat. This was like I swallowed like a golf ball or something. There was like irritation in the lower throat.
Yeah.
And I thought I had like a canker sore down there or something. I don't even know if that's medically possible, but I was like, what's down there that I'm swallowing and it hurts?
Yeah.
And I thought it was just like some canker sore. I never thought anything of it. After like 6 or 7 days, it went away. And I never thought about it again. And then last night around 10 p.m., I swallowed and I go, hey, I have another canker sore. That's weird. And then I started thinking, well, wait a minute. This was happening right after the shot and now it's happening again and I just forgot about it. So I don't know what's going on here. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't hurt. It's just, I'm aware that when I swallow, and that lasted like a few days last time. So I don't know what that is, but it's not affecting my life. It's just, I don't know.
I read though that some side effects, and it's harmless, is that your lymph nodes can swell up because that's just your immune system responding to it. Some people have even gotten it like in their armpit on the actual arm that they got the shot. And so there are just a lot of different things that can happen because, your body's like, oh, whoa, let me fight this off. But, at the very least, you weren't like super sick.
Yeah, I definitely feel that I felt it a little yesterday where I like dipped and got tired, but after I slept too, like I crashed. I crashed last night and just slept like a baby, and I woke up just feeling like amazing, and I craved coffee, and I was like, okay,
I'm good.
I'm back.
And then when you were getting your shot, it was so funny because I was recording it. You had no idea. And you were talking to the woman. I know you're sitting there, you're like a little anxious, and she goes, listen, I have to say this, 1 out of 100 people do get, these side effects that we're discussing.
Fever, chill, headache kind of thing.
And what was your response to her, sir?
I just said, well, have you seen 99 other people today?
The woman in front of me was cracking up. The woman giving you the shot was cracking up. Even the woman in front of me was like getting in on the banter.
Yeah, well, I think
funny.
Because as much as I was just like nervous, not like terribly nervous, but I was just, you're sitting there like, tapping your knees with your hands, and you're just kind of, anytime I'm in that position. I even heard someone say this on TikTok recently. Like, if you're ever feeling anxious or nervous, make it about the other person so that you get out of your own head. So when I sat down, and I also like to get information because not only for our podcast, but just in life, I like to have more information. So why not ask the nurse who I recognized last time, who's been sitting there for 3 weeks giving shots? Why not ask her how things are going?
Yeah.
Let's see what she says. Let's gauge her energy. And so I was like, let me make it about her. So I was like, so how's everything going? She's been good. So she wasn't giving me too much. She was kind of just being very professional.
Sure.
But then I was like, I got to keep this going. I can't just sit here because now she's, so I was just in the mood to banter. So she just happened to serve me a softball, and I thought, let me make a joke. And I think she thought it was funny.
She was laughing.
Yeah. And then, so I was like, okay. And then I said, I'm good. And that was it. But it was just for me to get out of my own head. I was like, let me make some jokes. And
At least this time you didn't bleed. Remember, you're the only person.
they had one other. They're like, we have a bleeder.
A leaker.
And she was like, or a leaker. And she was like, no, this woman, it was like, it was almost as if, like, it didn't hurt at all. It was
not.
Yeah.
It was so quick.
And then what you were saying too about the what you're hearing about the vaccine is that the reason that I felt the need, because we share everything.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share my experience without the attachment of whether you should or should not get it.
course.
I just wanted to share with everyone who listens or watches or whatever we do, just like this is what went on, whether it was interesting or not.
Yeah.
I just think that is important because most of the time when people are sharing, they have a motive or a purpose of wanting to prove that it's safe or prove that it's a hoax or whatever you want to say about it. And we're only going to hear those stories because it's attached emotionally. Like if we drive every day to and from work or you go places and you never tell your family how the drive was, but if you saw a 27 car pileup, you would say that story,
Right.
even though there's millions of cars driving every day that make it safely. So you're only probably going to hear the over the top, like, I promise this is positive, and the over the top, like, this person got real sick.
Sure.
So I said, well, what about the in-between people who are just like kind of doing it and it just is what it is? So that was our reasoning for sharing it. Whatever people want to do. You want to get it or don't want to get it.
Yeah.
We have people in our family who have gotten it and people who haven't,
Yeah.
people who won't. So I'm like, hey, whatever people want to do, the information's out there, do your research. But for us personally, I didn't want to do it, but we did it. I'm glad it's done. And now I'm excited just to go live my life. And that's why we're like going down to Boca this weekend. Your parents have gotten here and we're seeing them. And it's just so nice that, we're still going to participate in wearing a mask when we're in public, which is no big deal. You're in a store for 15 minutes.
Right.
But everywhere else, I'm getting together. I'm living my life. I'm back. I'm going to travel. We're going to go see your grandma. We're going to go
Yeah.
as soon as our 2 weeks
And
is
all
up.
these others have been vaccinated as well. That's why.
Yeah.
Like if my grandma didn't, if she wasn't vaccinated, that would be, for me, a whole nother situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So gotta be safe, do your thing. But yeah, it's just our experience. We're always speaking our truths, what we're doing. You guys
Yeah.
we're very open and we always like to invite people to come along for the ride. So that was just our experience. And luckily it was really great.
And let's just hope that that this doesn't become a yearly thing. I'm not looking forward to that. I really hope
But
that there's
even
a
if so,
I know,
it's-
but it sucks. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but it's inconvenient in the sense that you're if you have to go, it's not a big deal, but you are down. It like messes with you for like 48 hours, not in a bad way, some people, but even if you're like tired, like I don't want to be tired, but the result of safety makes it worth it.
Of course.
But yeah, how about your parents then? So does it feel like they're actually living here yet?
No, I still feel like I'm going to wake up because my parents arrived, Saturday night, and on Sunday it was Easter, and it was just so awesome for the first time. I mean, honestly, I think in 15 years we were able to spend an Easter with my parents because that's not usually generally a holiday I would ever fly back for.
Yeah.
You usually do like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Sometimes as I got older, it was more so Christmas. But yeah, the first time, and we were able to just kind of sit and hang and, grill, eat, drink.
Yeah, it was fun. We wanted to make it festive because not only did we not see our parents for 15 years, but we are also been in quarantine for 14 months. And it was the first time we were throwing any sort of shindig. Yeah. So everything was closed but Walmart. So what does that create in the Walmart parking lot? A mess. So Chaos. It was packed. And it was so busy that we decided we had to go in without a cart because you're not going to maneuver with a cart in a grocery store that's that packed.
Yeah.
But we had fun. We went and got burgers and we got some vodka, we got some beer, we got some hot dogs and buns and chips and some juice to make the drinks. And it was really fun. We came home, we prepped everything. I cut up the lettuce and the tomatoes, got the entire grill ready. I wore my Mr. Apron because I wanted to be the cook. And we set everything up, and it was just a lot of fun to have your parents here. And I know that they were definitely like tired. It was their first day.
Sure.
But just to be able to sit here, show them the house, and relax, have some good conversation, it just felt like normal.
Well, it was so nice because you and I, in a long time, obviously, because of quarantine and all of that, we haven't had that feeling of, oh, someone's coming over. We're so excited. I remember we were sitting and waiting, and we had like the music on, and we were sitting and finally sat down, and we were having a drink, and we were just looking at each other like, this is so cool. There's a new energy that people are coming here, and we're gonna get to hang out and have it. Just was something that I'll never take for granted again. Mm-hmm. And I'm really grateful, and it still hasn't fully sunk in yet that they're right up the street. Like the fact that tomorrow my mom is gonna come over and cook dinner for all of us. Like, that's so nice.
Well, we haven't had we haven't, our parents are fortunately, they're together and they're healthy. Yeah. And so we have 4 parents that, but we lived in different places. So for 15 years, we have never in our adult life ever had like our parents come and cook a dinner or them cook a dinner and we go to their house. Because when you're staying at your parents' house, you are spending quality time, but the dynamic is different because you're staying in a room in your parents' house.
Right.
And everyone knows it's over in 7 days. And then we're not going to see each other again for a year. So when they're making dinner, it's kind of like, isn't this nice? But in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, until 6 days. Or it's the last day and you're like, I got to get up at 6 a.m. and go do a 12-hour travel day tomorrow. I'm not going to drink anymore. I don't want any dessert. Like, I just need to go to bed. So we never actually in 15 years, that was one of the sacrifices we had to make to go and be an actor in Hollywood, is that you miss out on every birthday, every birth, every holiday, like everything. And now I'm in this stage in our life, we're young enough, and so are our parents, that I want to make up for that time.
Right.
I want to spend as much time with our parents as possible. I don't want it to seem like it's a vacation. Like, that's why I want to get my parents down here even part of the year in a condo or something, so that even for them, when they're here, it's not like they're in the spare room and then they're like, then you're forced to do stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to, like, both of us to live independent lives and then bring joy and happiness to each other a couple times a week and share big moments.
But that's what's so fabulous about living near your loved ones.
Yeah.
We have not had that in our adult life.
So,
it's different when you're a kid.
Well, yeah, because your perspective's
granted.
different. So anyone who does have their parents nearby, and it's easy to take it for granted because, like anything in life, you get used to things.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, just to have dinner every Sunday or every Saturday or once a week even.
Yeah.
It sounds like the best thing ever. And I always remember this because once we get into the rhythm, I don't want to be like, oh, like tonight's not good, I'm not in the mood. Like,
sure?
I want to remember, like, we never were able to do this.
I don't think that'll be a problem. And I'm very excited because I'm going to learn all the dishes my mom made. I mean, my mom, when I tell you, she and my grandma are just insane chefs. They're so good. And I just never really picked it up. I never really wanted to learn. It wasn't an interest. I always had other stuff I was doing growing up. So I just was like, hey, they do it. It's good.
Well, you left at 18.
Exactly. Still so much to learn.
Yeah.
So here I am kind of picking up where we left off. And now I want to learn. I want to learn these different recipes to always be able to know and carry on. But also, like, to cook for my husband or to cook for my family, to one day be able to cook for my parents. But there was one time when we lived at Whipple 1.0 and my mom helped me get all of the ingredients to one of her favorite dishes. And she sat on FaceTime with me for like, I think it was like 2.5, 3 hours. You were, I think, at work. And do you remember that? And I made you, I forget what it was. It was some sort of pasta, I want to say. But it was.
I do remember you cooking, but but we didn't even have a table or anything there.
Oh God, I can't. That plate. What?
That was during our. That was during our we were flat broke days.
Struggle bus.
we had just like a couch and like the kitchen was very the oven didn't work. Kitchen. Like it was.
But I still did it, and I remember when I finally did all of that, and you were able to eat it. I was so excited to watch, like, oh, it's bringing joy to him, because it actually turned out really good. But she, walking me through it. But I understand why people do want to cook, because there is something when you're able to like feed your family and everyone's just like, oh, this is so good. Oh, it's so good. And you're bringing them joy. You're like, that was worth it.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're doing it for other people, it's watching them eat it and they go, oh, this is good. And you're like,
yes.
Yeah, I know.
So I get all of it. I can understand too, though, for people with growing families, you don't have time to do that often. But then I do look around at like a lot of my girlfriends who are married and have kids, and they're cooking and doing all, it's just part of it.
Yeah.
You want your family to be well fed. And then sometimes, their husbands are the ones who do it. It just depends. Every family and dynamic's different. So
Exactly. Yeah, but I think it'll be worth to have that skill because I never have any recipes that, even though I'm Florida Fred, my cooking has never come from recipes. It just kind of comes from creating something with what's in the house.
What's left.
So
Yeah,
I've never
leftovers.
used measurements. I've never used like whatever spices I see and I go, oh, this could be good, or this is the only option I have of cooking this, so I'm gonna have to bake this, or I'm gonna have to do this. So I kind of just make it up as I go.
Instinct, yeah.
So mine is never like, I've never had a recipe where I go, let's see, a half a tablespoon, and then this has to be for this, and then what is thyme? Thyme? What's it called? I gotta like. So I've never done that.
Yeah.
Mine's always just like, what can I create and put together
Yeah.
just off of like leftovers or whatever.
But you've done well, and I'm just excited to learn some other kind of staples and easy to make stuff. Not every dish is a 3-hour process. Even getting a crock pot and making a soup to last for a long time and letting it, sit and
Yeah.
really just get delicious. There are just so many different things that we just don't know. And I think for me, a big part of that is growing up, I didn't care to learn. And then, like you said, I left at 18. So what am I going to just do that on my own? I could, but I didn't really care. And YouTube wasn't big back then. So,
But it's just interesting how the timing all worked out, and that we're all here and we're getting acclimated, and it's exciting times. I'm just excited to like live a normal life again.
I know.
Because it was obtuse. It was weird to leave a job of so many years, leave a town of people that we know, then go into a global pandemic,
Yep.
and then move cross country. And now I feel for the first time, it's like, oh, now that I feel at home, it's kind of lifting because of the vaccines, the cases, like people are living their lives
Yeah.
again. Your parents are here. My parents are coming to visit. So I kind of feel like life, like this summer is going to seem a little similar to 2019 summer. And we're finally going to be able to just relax and enjoy.
Well, I'm excited, and it's just one of those things when you just kind of stick with it. There's always that light at the end of the tunnel, which I know so many of us are feeling right now, because you're kind of feeling life moving toward a more new normal, if you will.
Yeah.
Just with everything happening, and I'm super grateful, filled with gratitude just for everything.
Yes, exactly. And but thank you all so much for stopping by, and we're wishing you just an amazing rest of your week and
Amazing
weekend.
week, and Benji's doing well.
And Benji, yes, Benji is doing really, really well, and so he's back to our son, and he's doing super well. So thank you for all the messages about him as well, because that was a crazy couple weeks, and we're just happy that he's all good now. We got him on his right medicines, and he's just trotting around, enjoying himself, and being his rambunctious self. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy your week, and we will see you next time.